Well, it's a pleasure to be here. If anybody knows me, you know I'm passionate about palms all my life. So I was honored that they would include me on this program, and I think we better turn this one off. But just a housekeeping thing. I got saddled with taking care of CEUs for arborists. How many arborists are here? Oh, so you're going to want to know this, right? So Rose sent me a letter. I'm in charge of getting these sign-up sheets back to Rose. So we get 4 hours of 4 units of CEUs for tree worker and 4 for arborists. And I will have the sign-up sheets near the end of the program today. And just a reminder, if you want both certified arborist and certified tree worker, they must place both numbers on the attendance form. Okay? All right. Okay. Palms. I don't know where to start. You know, Liberty Hyde Bailey, one of the most famous American horticulturists, is at Cornell University, called palms the big game of the plant world. And I think he was right on. And what I want to share with you today is, oh, maybe I won't be sharing. I want to put a plug in for this book. It's my book, and I'm not putting a plug in for me because I don't get one thin dime out of this. But it has a lot of information on management of palms in the landscape, including palm weevils. And you can get it from the Western Chapter ISA.
By the way, I think those are our palms on the front of the
Yes, this is in Irvine. And what kind are they?
Immaculate.
And what variety? They're jewels, I think. Yeah. Okay, so Paul mentioned this earlier, and Albert touched on it too. Palms are the iconic and signature plant material of Southern California. And this has been since the 1880s, when trying to lure people out of their cold eastern climates in Southern California, they put up pictures of orange groves lined with palm trees, and people came, and you know the rest of the history. And of course, it was glamorized even more by Hollywood. But I want to talk about the importance of palms, a crash course for you in basic palm biology, 3 slides, but it's really important because it explains why the palm weevil comes to a palm. And then some common diseases and disorders that could be mistaken for palm weevil damage, but are not palm weevil damage. Okay, so the importance of palms. They're conspicuous by their nature, not by their number. It's their habit. This trunk topped by this canopy of incredible, large, bold, dramatic leaves. A study done several years ago showed that 2% of the canopy in Los Angeles, 2% of the urban canopy was palms. Only 2%. Yet, how is it that we associate palms so closely with Southern California? And again, it's by their nature, not by their number. It's their nature of the beast, and we'll look at that. And here's a reference for that 2% of this infrared satellite imagery. We have only one native species in Southern California, and this really surprises people. That's the native California fan palm, Washingtonia foliifera, and here it is in Borrego Springs, a beautiful grove. But palms are the iconic and signature plant material of Southern California since the 1880s. They're intimately associated with our Southern California lifestyle, and there's no other plant material that can capture that so sought, bold, dramatic, tropical motif. I think Albert said it well when he said, you picture yourself on the beach with swaying palms. And actually, there's a lot of work in that too. Hoisting that Mai Tai or Martini takes a little bit of energy. But, you know, here's some canaries in Newport Beach. There's no other plant materials that can make this statement. None. Santa Barbara, Long Beach, Laguna Beach, San Diego, you all recognize that. Washingtonias, on the right we have Folifera and Covina, on the left we have Robustas in downtown Los Angeles. This is what makes Southern California Southern California. You go in any picture postcard of California, and you usually see palms in it. And it's because of their nature, their habit. So the landscape nursery industry in California is probably over $1 billion annually. This includes production and maintenance. And palms are a significant part of that. I think it's probably palms account for well over 100 million a year in the landscape industry. Transplantability, and I don't know if that's a word or not, but I made it up. If it's not a word, it's made up and we'll use it. Besides their habit, that iconic habit that no other plant material can match, it's very easy to transplant large specimens easily and quickly and have them established readily. And it's relatively inexpensive. I got a few quotes to show you the value of some of these palms. Canary Island date palms are going past $500 per foot of trunk, not installed. That's just the field price. And Dax, Phoenix Dactylifera, $5,000 a palm installed. Now, of course, that's going to vary, but that gives you a little bit of idea of how much these plants are worth. So, here's a canary being planted at the Irvine Company, and overnight, nearly overnight, you can have this. It'd be impossible to do that with nearly all other plant material. So this is another thing about palms. Instant landscapes, instant tropical appeal. Sex appeal for plants is what it is. And the data industry, Albert mentioned the data industry. I was searching online for information about the data industry. And what I found for 2015, and here's my source, is 10,000 acres, 43,000 tons with a value of about $68 million. So different sources, different amounts, but anyway, it's significant. And while we don't yet have this palm weevil in the Coachella Valley, experience with other species in that genus of palm weevils, the red palm weevil I'm referring to, it's devastated date palms in the Middle East and Northern Africa. So the potential is there to devastate the date industry. And now, Young & Sons, I think you folks were the pioneers of growing palms, date palms for fruit for 15 or 20 years, and then turning around and selling those trees into the landscape and making more money on it. It's a unique crop. You can make money while it's growing to maturity, and then you make money when you harvest it again. And I think Young & Sons was right there at the leading edge of that. And here's one of their date grows out past Indio. So here's my crash course in palm biology, and this is why it's important. Basically, a palm is a single elongated axis, or if it's a multi-trunk palm, a series of these axes, and it has one apical meristem per trunk. Growth is restricted to the top of that trunk, where it's producing trunk, producing leaves, producing inflorescences, and at the bottom where it produces roots. There's very little going on in that trunk between the leaves and the roots. All growth is primary. There's no cambium. There's no secondary growth. For you arborists, there's no codex. There's no repair of damaged tissues. And we'll see why this is important. So here's a palm. This is what we were doing a study at Young & Sons Field out past Indio near Desert Center, a transplant study. And this shows what a palm is all about. What makes palms so appealing to me is their simplicity. You have leaves and roots and a trunk, and that's it. But it's incredibly appealing plant material. Up at the top, you also get fruit stalks, and at the bottom you have the roots. So here's the crux of the whole thing. Here's the heart of the palm, the apical meristem. This is what that palm weevil wants. And of course, if you've eaten hearts of palm, and I see someone smiling over here, who's eaten hearts of palm? And you like it? Yeah. You're eating the apical meristem of a palm. And sadly to say, that trunk that had the apical meristem is toast. Because you could enjoy your hearts of palm, that palm sacrificed its trunk for you. Almost makes me want to weep. But fortunately, almost all hearts of palm now come out of commercial orchards, so they aren't extracting it from the wild and damaging naturally occurring palms. But here's what's going on. Oops. Okay. Here's the stem of the trunk, and here's the top of it. And there's the apical meristem. It's responsible for producing this trunk out to its ultimate diameter. And it's responsible for upward growth of it. And it's responsible for producing these leaves. These are all older leaves here, younger leaves here, very small leaf primordia here. And then inflorescences or flower stalks. And it's very tasty, as you know. And the palm weevil wants it. And Phoenix canariensis has a big, fat, succulent, juicy apical meristem. In addition to that, it has lots of leaves packed tightly together with fat, watery, carbohydrate-loaded leaf bases that offer food and protection and hiding places. So Phoenix, this isn't Phoenix canariensis, this is a king palm. But Phoenix canariensis is well constructed for the red palm, for the palm, South American palm weevil. All right, let's look at some diseases and disorders that could be mistaken for damage. So if you see this, you don't want to have a heart attack, you don't want to be an alarmist, because you're going to know it's not the palm weevil. But a very common disease is pink rot. It's a very opportunistic disease. It can attack all parts of the palm, but when it gets down into the apical meristem, it can damage or kill leaves, and so it looks like there's something up there eating the apical meristem, which is what the red palm weevil does. But it's not. It's just the opportunistic fungus that typically is active during cool, moist weather. Fusarium wilt of Phoenix canariensis. So Fusarium wilt is only on the canary on the day palm. It kills a lot of leaves, but the big difference between this and palm weevil damage would be the palm weevil damages you'll see on the newest leaves first. On the canary on the day palm Fusarium, it's the oldest leaves that die first. It's the mirror image. But just looking up at a palm and seeing a lot of dead leaves, at this stage of the game, could send a lot of people running for their computers or their phones saying, I have it, I have it, I have it. And you probably have Fusarium wilt, not the palm weevil. But anyway, it's a very species-specific disease. It only attacks canary island date palms. It's primarily spread on pruning tools. It's 100% fatal, but it's nearly 100% preventable through safe pruning practices. But this is what you get in a neighborhood where you have Fusarium wilt. And you notice it's the older leaves that die first. The last leaves to die are the center ones, or the upper ones. A mirror image of palm weevil damage, where it's the center leaves that die first. Oldest leaves dying first. Okay, what are some other things that could cause similar looking damage to palms? Well, one of them is power line pruning. I used to call this Southern California Edison syndrome. Down here it would be San Diego Gas and Electric syndrome. But you can see in these palms, you see the center leaves are really short and damaged. You can get damages similar to this from the palm weevil. And Mark will be sharing this with you, I think, right after my presentation. This one was actually in North San Diego County. Washingtonia robusta, power line pruning. Another canary on the left, and a close-up of what happens when they prune out the leaves. And because the leaves come back, you have these stubs that look like they're truncated. And with the palm weevil, you can get truncated leaves because the palm weevil's down there, and these leaves are in the spear stage, it's tunneling around, cuts across a leaf. When that leaf emerges, it's truncated. Two-tier canopy. I think my sound went off. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens here, you often see this on date palms because date palms in the landscape, they typically aren't pruned often enough. And dates are a promiscuous group of palms, the Phoenix genus. There's a lot of pollen floating around, and they can, other species can pollinate these female dacs in the landscape. And date palms are grown in the Coachella life of their fruit, so they produce big clusters of fruit with big, heavy fruits. And when they sit on a lower leaf that's subtending it, they push it down. And you get this two-tier canopy, which could be mistaken for palm weevil damage. And there you see the fruit clusters pushing it down. It's most dramatic on Dactylifera. But you also see it on Canariensis, which is the preferred host of the palm weevil, pushing down the lower leaves because the clusters weren't pruned out in a timely manner. There's some mineral deficiencies that can mimic some palm weevil damage. One of the symptoms of boron deficiency is unevenly opened leaf spears. Boron deficiency manifests itself in about 6 different ways in palms, some of them quite spectacular. This one, I'm sure Mark's going to show you some pictures of canaries where when these leaves were down in the apical meristem area and the weevil larvae were burrowing around, they cut off some parts of the leaf. When they come up, they look weird, like they have these empty spaces along the rachis. Well, this isn't from weevil. This is from boron deficiency. The leaves don't open fully. Another symptom of boron deficiency is called little leaf, where the leaves in the very newest leaves are stunted and deformed. And this could be mistaken for palm weevil damage. This is actually boron deficiency induced by drought. Dry soils tightly bind boron to the soil particles, and the palm can't take it up, and you get a boron deficiency. Both on queen palms, both near the coast. Manganese, another micronutrient that does affect the new growth on palms. This is actually called frizzle top because it looks like somebody came and took a blowtorch and torched the newest leaves as they were coming up. But again, this is something similar to what palm weevil could do. To the untrained eye, anytime you see new leaves coming out of a palm and they look weird, you're probably going to start thinking palm weevil. And it's not bad to think that, but just don't be alarmist. Use your great intelligence and think about the things that we've learned. And finally, here's a queen palm in the desert, manganese deficiency, newest leaf. That's frizzle top, not palm weevil damage, but mineral deficiency. Okay, any questions? Yes?
What species of palm are?
Oh,
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you please repeat the questions, everybody?
Yeah.
Can hear it?
Now the question is, what species are used for hearts of palm? Primarily, it's a species of a South American palm called Euterpe edulis, and they used to extract it from palms growing in the native forest, like the Amazon. But they were destroying so many palms to get the hearts of palm that they had to do something. And so they started growing plantations of Euterpe, and now they've branched into other species of palms, some of which are not solitary, they have multiple stems, so even if you harvest the hearts of palm out of one stem, you aren't going to kill the clump lives on. But now they use Bactris gassipes is another one that they use for hearts of palm. But primarily it's Euterpe. We can't grow it outside here. Those palms. Yes, back here.
Is Phalabiopsis still very prevalent, and if so, do any of those symptoms mimic this palm weevil?
Phalabiopsis, which causes a black rot, called the black rot of palm trunks, is still around, and it causes an internal decay with very little decay evident on the outside of the trunk, and there's enough healthy tissue to keep the trunk intact, and enough water flowing up and nutrients and carbs flowing down to keep everything looking nice. But slowly, as the decay moves around internally, it destroys so much of the good remaining tissue that it can't sustain that 1 or 2 ton head of a Canary Island day palm, and the thing topples off with no warning, having a completely healthy looking canopy. Yes, it's still around, but you wouldn't confuse it with palm weevil damage.
Is that one also unique to Phoenix, or does it land on other palms?
It's also in Dactylifera, but mostly with Phoenix canariensis. Yes?
We've been seeing queen palms a lot of like twisting in the rachis, and the head almost starting to lean. More over the past couple of years than I don't remember seeing much at all. Is that a deficiency also?
Yeah. So a twisting of new leaves as they come out, maybe even a tilting of the head or the apical meristem. It's probably boron deficiency induced by us being conscientious and trying to cut back on our water. Dry soil easily induces boron deficiency. Yes?
Just to expound a little on your comment about Fusarium, I'm Glenn Wright, I'm from Yuma, from University of Arizona. And we had our first outbreak of Fusarium on queen palm in the Gilbert, Arizona area this last year. And it was pretty interesting.
So I'll repeat what he said. This is Glenn Wright. He's from Yuma, Arizona, and they have a species of Fusarium that's now attacking queen palm. It's not the same one that attacks Canary Island day palms. It's a new emerging Fusarium that attacks. Most Fusarium are very species specific or host specific. This one isn't. I think it attacks. In Texas and in Florida, it's been attacking Washingtonia, Queens, and a couple other species of palms. So hopefully that species of Fusarium doesn't reach us. And hopefully the species of Fusarium that actually kills date palms in the Middle East doesn't get here. That would be a complete disaster. Do you have time for more questions, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, but back here.
So the Fusarium on the queen and the Washingtonia, does still have the same symptoms of the double-sided frond, half of it's
Yeah.
Okay, because on the queen palm it would. On the Washingtonia, it's not a pinnate leaf, so you'll get sections of the leaf blade that die before the other side. Yeah. So it's
kind of similar.
Yeah, similar. Yes.
How do you confirm boron deficiency? Is it correctable, and how long does it take?
Okay, how do you confirm boron deficiency? Is it correctable? Boron deficiency, the symptoms are so well described, you can determine it or diagnose it just from the symptoms. And if you got that book I wrote, I have a whole section in there on boron deficiency. There are about 6 or 7 different symptoms, really discrete symptoms, and some of them quite spectacular. Like where the palm loses geotropism and starts going back down to the ground. That's a spectacular symptom. But here's how you control boron deficiency. Always keep the soil evenly moist, and mulch. Mulch is really important because the breakdown of the mulch supplies boron. It doesn't help much to apply a boron fertilizer because it's typically cultural conditions, high pH, dry soil, or something of that nature that's causing the deficiency. There's usually enough boron in the soil already. Yes, Susan?
The different species of Fusarium, is that also vectored by equipment?
I think it is. I think it is. Any other questions? I'm probably running out of time.
Yeah, you got one in the back.
Yeah, my question.
Yes, so the question was, is this other species of Fusarium that's in Florida, Texas, and now Arizona, is it vectored on pruning tools? Undoubtedly, well, I'm pretty sure it is. One more?
Yeah, okay, last one.
Okay, last one.
On the boron deficiency, I used to recommend Solubor, and I can't find it anymore. Is there some other product that works just as good that you can't find?
Solubor. The date growers, you don't use Solubor? No? I thought that was 20 multein borax that was making that, I thought.
I'm Asian, that's why I'm wondering why I use these.
I don't know. I don't know. I always manage it through proper irrigation and mulching. And it'll take, since palms are relatively slow growing, it'll take time for the leaf to grow out of it. Okay, well, what a pleasure. I'll be around all day long, and I'd like to talk with all of you, so come and see me. And I'll be sure to get the publication that Mike Marika, right there, and I wrote about the palm weevil. I think it was a handout today.
Yes, on the table.
It's on the table outside. All right, thanks very much.